Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Okie Podcast. Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Okie Podcast. I hope everybody's enjoying the show. On today's show, I have two very special guests, and I can't wait to dive in to just everything that they do, man. I'm excited that they're here, and we're going to just get into it. My guests are Wes Cunningham and Brittany Bendabout. Wes is the owner of One Trip Media branding agency, and Brittany is also a brand manager of One Trip Media, and she is the founder of Native Meetup. So these guys do a lot of really cool shit, and I mean, I'm gonna learn more about them, and so are you. So I'm really excited for this episode. Hope y'all enjoy it. So if both of y'all want to kind of give a backstory of yourselves to the listeners, whoever wants to go first.
Nobody go at the same time, right? No, my background is it's kind of all over. Kind of jack of all trades, master of few. Yeah. I don't want to definitely say master of none, but my background is just anything from fitness to sales to just like I've done a lot of things in trying to figure out my path has kind of led me on this entrepreneur lifestyle. I've always had a camera in my hand. My mother was always the family photographer, annoying everybody, making everybody get together during family get-togethers, and so I kind of come by that naturally. My grandfather owned a printing shop here in Tulsa on Brookside, a zebra print.
Oh wow!
And I was just a kid making deliveries with my grandmother and living in that print shop since they've had it until he retired. And so just kind of growing into that atmosphere. He was very artistic, and so I kind of just followed that. When I was doing the fitness stuff and like following all these other random jobs that I had, I always kind of kept that camera in the background and just kept trying to be artistic by trying to be creative. And it just kind of led me to doing what I do now. Went for photography, videography. Now it's into the whole branding aspect of businesses and entrepreneurs, from personal brands to professional brands. So, that keeps me pretty busy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I mean...
Yep.
Hey.
I don't think I can follow something as I had someone creative to look up to. I just remember being a kid and I always had like a pen and a paper in my hand and I was drawing stuff and my parents thought it was really good, but it was probably complete garbage. They're obligated to say it's good and that I'm artistic and creative, but it was always just like I felt creative and I felt always sort of like a desire to be creative and like go after that lifestyle. So about 15, I got my first camera. My mom bought me like a little Kodak point and shoot camera, and I thought the photos were so nice and clean and crisp, and I would just walk around with my friends in a field somewhere taking photos. So like that's really when I started to develop a style and a creative eye for things, was just hanging out with my friends, shooting random objects, shooting each other. And then just kind of fell into that. So yeah, I've been doing that for almost 11 years now, which is crazy to think. And I think now like there's still this push and the desire to be creative and kind of make my own path, my own space. Working in the business world, I hated it. I always hated working for the man. So I'm kind of stepping into this entrepreneur lifestyle, and I'm thankful for Wes because he's kind of like, he's pushed me to that and continue to like develop a style and hone in on my skills. So yeah, that's kind of my creative background.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. I hate working for the man too. Yeah. That's why I wanted to start this too. Man, I've had a lot of jobs where they're good jobs, but then your managers fucking suck and you don't want to work there.
Yeah.
So, and then when you have like a really shitty job, everybody's really cool, but you're not making like a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So it's like, man, it's just awful.
Yeah,
it's awful.
Yeah, for sure. If you're not like stable financially or emotionally or physically, you got to have all those three aspects to kind of support your mental health or happiness or any kind of future that you can see like that pulls you to or inspires you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if one of those three is off, it causes stress or aggravation or frustration in your life. And so you could have a really cool job but little less pay and you still struggle, or a shitty job, decent pay, and you're dying inside, or you have all the other two and your freaking health is going down the hill.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
A man with his health has many dreams. A man without his health has only one dream: to be healthy. Because without your health, nothing else matters.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I kind of come from, my mother was a LPN, or is a LPN. She's a nurse, and she's always drilled down into me like what health and fitness should be for me, and plus being a Native American, we see it as a rampant thing that it needs to improve on throughout the Indian communities and lives. And so that's kind of where I got also had a background in fitness and teaching karate, from teaching taekwondo. Obviously I do jiu-jitsu, and I've been doing that 10 plus years, almost 11 years, I think now.
Damn.
And so I started as a wrestler as a 5-year-old. I was lucky enough. My brothers got into wrestling when they was about 14 or so. And so I was a little kid at that time. So I was exposed to that. And my mother actually took me to a lot of the practices as a kid and stuff, and so I was super grateful. I hated practice at the time. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I hated it. And as a kid, I hated to sweat. I hated the workouts, but I loved to play. And so I would always have to, she would reverse psychology me and get me to go and go participate. But I'm super grateful that she's done that, because that gave me a lot of what you would say, character development, and a lot of life skills that I've carried through with me throughout my entire life. Because when things get hard and you persevere and strive past
work
it.
ethic.
Yeah, it gave me a lot of work ethic.
It's powerful, Wes. It's really powerful.
Not to set the tone here. Going deep real quick.
It's all good. I love that, man. Holy shit. I love that message. Well, before I forget, Brittany, where are you from?
I'm from Claremore. So
You're from Claremore?
yeah,
You're
not
from
too
here?
far from Tulsa. I went to a private school there. I graduated from college there. I'm in a master's program at Rogers State University right now. So 8 weeks I'll finish and be done with school forever, and I'm so happy about that.
Well,
Over.
congrats.
Thank you.
Early congrats.
For sure.
Yeah. And then you've been from here, Wes?
Yeah, I just say I'm from Oklahoma, basically, because I kind of moved all over Oklahoma throughout childhood. I graduated from Wagner.
Oh, really?
And I moved to Tulsa about 2009, and I've stayed here ever since, man.
Okay.
Wow. I had family up here in Tulsa too, so it kind of motivated me to stay here.
Well, let's dive into One Trip Media.
For sure.
Yeah. How did that get started? Like, what was the idea of that at first?
Man, so it started as Red Feather Images. I was just a photographer, just trying to make a living as a photographer. I wanted to make a living so bad as a photographer at that time. Like, I was applying to J.C. Penney's. I actually had an interview with Babies R Us, and I was actually that time I was about to work there, but other things have came up, and I was able to take other opportunities. But I quickly realized like One Trip Media wasn't getting the job done. Wasn't the entire package that that I could provide at that time. So I had to rebrand and figure out like my path and figure out how to position myself to make money or to make a living at that. And so, but during that time, I was looking for answers at all points in all directions. Because I was teaching myself. I didn't go to school for any of this photography or branding or business. I went to the library and I found they had free resources there. Like they just remodeled it, I think, and they opened up the Creative Center or something like that. The Maker Center or something is downtown, the downtown location. And I was going there every day after school or after work and just trying I was shooting my own stuff whenever I could and try to shoot my own videos because I was diversifying as a photographer, coming out as a videographer and trying to learn new skills to help myself get more jobs, get more money. And then I had to learn how to do that stuff. So I'd take myself down to the library and use their computers because I had a laptop that wasn't powerful enough to edit.
Yeah.
And so that's where I really honed in my skills and just stay consistent. And then it's kind of taken me like chasing this entrepreneur lifestyle, this nomadic lifestyle. I've always wanted to live on the road and travel, and like I got bit by the travel bug when I was young. And I just loved experiencing new locations, new people, and just seeing new areas, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of taken me all over the world and different places, going to different seminars and learning tricks and tips and tricks of the trade and how to be more efficient and think outside, be more creative with how you made money, right? As a real entrepreneur. And it's kind of taken me from LA to Bali And during this time, like rebranding it and trying to figure out what this message was, I came back. I had some meetings, everything scheduled with potential clients. So I had a lot of motivation, a lot of momentum going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I come back from Bali, I caught pneumonia. And during this whole rebrand and like trying to figure a website out and what I was doing, and one after the other, these meetings failed and failed and failed. I was like, oh no! Like by this point, I was like needing to pay bills and trying to make a living at this. I was sitting there talking to actually George, and he was in Italy at the time, and I was like, dude, I need a name. I didn't know who else to really talk to at the time, so I was talking to George about it and trying to come up with a bunch of different things. And I wanted to break away from my indigenous side and just stand on my own 2 feet as a creative, as me, as person, me being individualized, I guess, per se. And I was throwing a bunch of things against the wall, a bunch of, just seeing what would stick. Finally, I threw, I was like, man, I kept saying in my head while I was sick too, I was like, this one trip is going to ruin me. This one trip is going to mess everything up. And I kept saying that in my head. And I was like, wait, change the perspective of it. Like one trip is going to, potentially change everything. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. So I was like, I text George and I was like, yo, what about one trip? He's like, okay. And I was like, I just need to quit being a bitch about it and say one trip media. Media encompasses a lot.
Yeah.
So I was like, what about one trip media? How's that sound? He's like, I like it. I was like, we're going with it. And so from there, I had the name and I was like, all right, so now the time to figure out like what we're really doing here and how we're going to stay afloat and what the message is. And from there, it was like 2019, into 2019, life changes, moving house, losing a girlfriend, going through that breakup, and all of that made me really exfoliate who I was and really look down deep inside and like figure this message out. And from there, I started immediately building communities and like finding like little study groups to get in with, because I didn't know it all. Mm-hmm. And I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I'm learning this as I go. But I was willing enough to go find that and say that, like, I can go find these people and find online mentors and find people that I could network with. People would give me books and stuff like that. That's one of the biggest things, too, is, like, I go to my mentors and be like, help me. And they would be like, here's a book. I would read this book. And I was like, that's not the answer I wanted. I want the answer. I need a lead. I need something to bring money in.
Yeah.
And the things they was doing for me, though, is like teaching me. And it was like changing my mindset of what it meant to make money and how to make money and be creative. And from there, like during that time, I wasn't smoking cannabis at all. Mm-hmm. I was about 20 something ish. I didn't smoke cannabis until I was 27. And from there, it just really opened my mind to different perspectives of myself mm-hmm. and what was around me. And I was able to finally relax and like chill out for a bit. And like, I'm wired tight, like wound tight all the time. So that was really the first time I was able to like relax and be able to have a different perspective of life or in myself, have grace for myself. Mm-hmm. Totally changed the perspective of everything, the landscape for me. And I knew from there on in, like, I was like, all right, cannabis will be the industry, the niche that I'll speak to. From there, like, I quickly figured out that the service game, like photography and videography, I didn't want to compete there anymore because everybody and their dog has a camera now. And so everybody's a content creator. Everybody can, shoot photos and videos, mm-hmm. And I didn't want to compete there because they'll, compete at price. And then by that time, it's just a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
So instead of that, I knew I wasn't going to try to compete there in price and like try to lower my price to compete with nobody. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to add more value. And I lucked out during this time, and a marketing agency hired me on and is basically doing exactly what I wanted to be doing. And so I was like, yo, this is like college. It's like a paid scholarship. Like, I'm going to learn as I go, and I'm going to keep hustling my side thing. And they wanted me to come full time. And that's something I was like, I can't do that. I'm over here building something that I can't let go of, it just gnawing at me to like keep pushing no matter what. That perseverance, that maybe it's stubbornness, I don't know, but it just like, go, just keep going. Like, just put your head down and work. And I've always maybe that's that wrestling mentality is like I've always been able to outwork people and just grind. That's that wrestler mentality, just grind it out. And so that's where I thought about, okay, like, but then as you learn, you make all these, failed attempts and you have a lot of failures and things that happen. You quickly realize you got to work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And 2020, man, it really made me sit down and hone in this message and figure out what we're doing here and why, and build the systems and keep cultivating the communities that I was involved in. And I lucked out, during this time, like when I was reaching out, finding these communities, whether it's photography, videographers, branding, it doesn't matter. Like they're all in their specific niche, and they had these little communities that I could go find, whether it's Facebook groups or like different social medias. That's where I'm saying I would find that kind of stuff. And then from there, I linked up with her through Instagram just as a photographer, just like, hey, you're a photographer. I'm looking for more photographers, because I quickly realized I couldn't do this on my own, because I tried the whole freelancer thing, and that was really it was hard. I took on a lot more at that time because I wanted to provide so much service and so much solutions to my client. I was like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. Maybe I was hard for a sell, but I was still saying yes to everything, which I quickly realized that's a quick way to, burning yourself out.
Yeah.
And I started really looking for other creatives to link up and network with, and just help, and then learn to try to get them to help me on certain jobs. And I linked up with her through Instagram, just through her work, and especially her being indigenous as well. Brittany, if for people that can't see, I kept saying her. I'm sorry, my bad. So, but I linked up with Brittany through Instagram as just admirer of her work, and just relating on that same creative field. And I was always going to, the coffee shops anyways. I don't drink coffee, but I love the vibe of coffee shops, and I love to go work there. And lo and behold, I ran into her at Double Shot, and from that, just kind of picked her brain of where she's wanting to be and what she's wanted to do. And our paths aligned so much in the sense of creativeness and wanting that break away from that 9 to 5, wanting to, really stand out on our own 2 feet and, create our own path. So from there, we started working together and started collaborating, and that's kind of led us to what we're doing now. Is like now we stepped into this what One Trip Media really is. Like we are creatives, and yes, we are photographers, videographers. We do graphic design, we do all the service stuff, the pretty aesthetics. But we're more than that now because of our journey and our perseverance, and like where we had to do with not only ourselves, but like what we've seen out in the world, like this gap. Because going through different trials and tribulations, we've had to do our own self-healing and self-work. And I started seeing a lot of things align when we started stepping into the branding, that through therapy and asking yourself these hard questions. I was like, wow, this is so powerful, and not only ourselves, but it could be powerful for business owners. And like I said, I lucked out through these different communities of branding, and started really finiting down these questions and processes, and how we build these systems to extract these certain things and beliefs or thoughts, right? And how do we cultivate that into a message or a mission that somebody is worth listening to, right? How do you take that and, turn that into visual aesthetics? That's what we was really started gravitating to, because we understood both sides. And as being creatives first, so we knew how to make the pretty pictures and aesthetics. So now we was ready to connect. How do you connect these ideas? How do you extract these ideas from people in communication, and how do you do that? So we become infatuated and passionate about that, and we really started collaborating. And I was like, you know what? One Trip Media is a branding agency. It's not a marketing agency. It's not any kind of production. Is branding, because that's, if you think about where the stream comes from, that's the beginning, because everything comes after that. And if you don't, you kind of started making all these pretty things, eventually you're going to burn out, or you're going to run into you put yourself into a corner, back yourself into a corner, and where do I go now?
You need a strong foundation.
A strong foundation, and able to really give yourself a roadmap, or able to give yourself breadcrumbs, or an idea, a clear direction. So that's one thing that we really like. Okay, that's where we are. That's our differentiator, and that's where we're going to step in and really help certain. Whether you're in the cannabis industry or just an entrepreneur, but you got to be able to be coachable. You got to be able to, we see those trendsetters. We see those people that's willing to get out and be, the pioneers either of their own lives or pioneers in their industry. It doesn't matter. But if they're willing to step forward and like go out and break through that wall, we're here to help, and that's one things that it really fires us up, is see people's passions and then feel that passion, cultivate that passion. Like that's everything for us.
Yeah.
And so people would love to get their passion from inside here and out inside here and pull it out, but they don't have the right words or the right like way, because there's so many different ways you can do something, like perspective. If I was to tell you, think about the word strike, what do you think of?
Fighting,
right?
MMA,
right?
Yeah.
So then you got strike out, you got a strike mark, you got different strikes that mean different things. So then you start asking those strategic questions like, what do you mean by that? Ask these deeper questions. Then once you get all this jumbled out and all this brain dump from somebody, and then you decipher it and you break it down, you condense it. You start how can you break this down to the simplest form, to one word or one sentence about you and your passion and what you do. It's like that's the hard stuff. That's when it gets really tedious.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Yeah. So long story, right?
I was sitting here thinking of like, well, how do I do that with my passion?
Yeah.
Sitting here like trying to.
And that's just the thing. Like when people do like it is hard, but you got to do the work. Like no matter if it's working on yourself to heal on whatever you're going through in life or your business, you have to sit down and do the work and really figure out, like mind the gaps and like figure out like what's happening around you. Have that not so much awareness, but self-awareness helps, but having an awareness of what's going on in your industry or in where you want to be. And so there you can be like, okay, so if my competitors are doing this and my audience is here, where's that gap at? Where can I fit in? And then the thing is, you just got to have a differentiator. You just got to be different, stand out. How do you do it differently? Because everybody's out here doing something, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's really inspiring, man. How you would go after work and then you would put in your own time to learn all of these things at the library and their free resources. And I was talking about this with somebody else. Like, it sounds easy. Like, that sounds really easy, but it's hard to make yourself get up after a day of working, go there and do all this research yourself and learn how to do it and then start building on that.
Yeah.
So I admire that about you, man. That's really fucking cool.
I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I think that wrestling that really gave me a lot of like this perseverance, is drill through the wall, like just go through it no matter what.
Yeah.
And just keep, pick yourself up even when you don't want to. I mean, the same thing goes with fitness. Like just because we don't want to, you still need to do it. You still need to do something. Move that inch or move that dial just by an inch or a little bit at a time. Slow progression is still progression.
Yeah.
As long as you're moving that needle, walking forward, you're still doing something. And like, that's where, I'm a perfectionist at heart, and that's something I struggle with, and I'm always like checking myself over. You're always going to be your own worst critic, but once you're able to give yourself grace and look at the bigger picture of this, like where you're at, and as long as you're like, okay, like as long as you're moving the needle and like give yourself that time, and then you can look back and you're like, holy crap, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
And then like just be honest with yourself. And that's the hardest thing, is like being honest with yourself, whether you're doing good or doing bad. Be able to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, no, man, you need to go do a little bit more work. Or be like, yo, you've worked your ass off, pat yourself on the back and give yourself a day of rest. Because, when you, integration is just as important as growth and like building. You got to give yourself that time to integrate, whether it's healing or it's business. You got to give yourself that time, whatever you're learning, to go put it into practice, and then learn to like give yourself that grace to integrate it and retain it. Because if not, if you're just, that's, entrepreneurs find themselves into that little hole all the time of just burnout, because there's just go, no stop, no sleep, like you've seen it all over the internet, how people pride themselves on lack of sleep, getting up on this, that. Man, sleep is important for your body. Sleep is important for your mind. Because then you'll fumble over your words, or you'll forget things, or things don't stick if you're not taking care of your mind just as much as you do your body.
Yeah.
So it's good. For sure.
That's very true. That is very true. I try to get as much sleep as I can. Sometimes it's hard, man. Sometimes, like, as soon as you're about to go to sleep, you start thinking about, oh, I got an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I need to write it down.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, shut off.
Yeah.
So I can remember it tomorrow, and then I could write it down.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, man, you know, like, I can't sleep, so I'll just start writing stuff out. And then used to, like, I'd read a book and go to sleep. Yeah.
It's helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And that was able to, that's when the first time, like, I started getting high for the first time. I was like, oh my God, this is wonderful. Like, I need to do this more often. Like, I'm a normal person when I'm high. Like, it brings me down to, like, the real, like, seeing things chill out a little bit, you know, docile. And I'm an extrovert, so I'm all over the place, but I have a lot of energy. And, like, learning to utilize that and point that energy in the right direction, you know, whether it's in myself to do some work on myself, or if it's to do work in the fitness, like on my jiu-jitsu, or in business.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one thing too, is like I started dabbling when I was younger, into yoga. Yoga really helped. I was doing that along with martial arts and trying to really hone in, like, help my breathing. And because also too, like, when you're underneath somebody and getting smashed, like, you got to have that calmness, and you be able to be calmed in the situation and be calm in the under, you know, and not freak out. And I think that's, you know, helps a lot too. And you know, just seeking out that, because I was frustrated, because I was like either wound tight and just like always aggravated, or you know, what's another word, not aggravated, but like tense, just always tense and
stuff,
like it was either, whether it was from anxiety or work or whatever, you know, I was always dealing with that. So through that frustration, I had to go seek some solution somewhere. And lucky for me, I was in, like I said, in fitness, and I had people that was doing, you know, teaching yoga at that time, and they invite me to their class and different stuff like that, you know, and so that helped. Then also MMA and boxing and fighting, all that stuff, you know, exfoliates that, you know, it burns that energy off and able to take your mind off of whatever you're worried about or stressed about for that time. And like that, that gave me a lot of time to look at myself and relax, or gave my mind that break. But it's been a wild ride. For sure. You know, and be able to extract each, like, those journeys, like different journeys of my life, be able to extract that lesson and implement it. That's been the biggest thing and biggest factor, key factor for me, is whatever crazy job I've done or situation I put myself into, is like able to extract that and be like, okay, I messed up there. Like, let's not make that mess up again. Like, what can I pull from this? And that's really helped a lot. But like I said, you know, we met at through Instagram and photography. And she was telling me about this whole native meetup that she was wanting to do. And because, you know, as indigenous people, you know, we always try to find our own, you know, we're always with our tribal mentality, right? But nowadays we're trying to seek this out of relatability to youth and, you know, indigenous people that are close to our age, and like in how we're living in this digital world in the 21st century, especially now during COVID. So she came, you know, she was doing this whole the native meetup thing during the same time when we met. And then that kind of took off in November.
Yeah, November. I think basically one of the first times I really hung out was the day of the first native meetup. And that, to kind of go backwards a little bit, kind of how that started was I moved to Tulsa in May of 2020. So yeah, crazy to move during a pandemic. You think you're so excited to live in a city and get to do all these fun things, and you're just like, no, it's COVID. But so I moved here in May and was really looking for a community that I could just feel like I could relate to. You know, going to a college, it wasn't that I didn't go to a big college, but I just never really felt connected to anyone. And I had friend groups that there was quite a few people on the same like education level as me. We had some similar interests, but it seemed like any group I hung out with or person I hung out with, I always felt empty after that. And that's a lot of work I need to do on myself and like the way I see myself and just some inner work type of stuff. But I was like really thinking about it. I'm like, I just don't feel like I can relate to these people that I'm with all the time. Like I never feel like I'm given any value from them. So that was kind of like one of like the main reasons I wanted to start Native Meetup. I just wanted a community that I could relate to, and if it's just all looking like each other or having the same sense of humor, like that was good enough for me. So I spent the first few months as I was living in Tulsa looking for some sort of like resource or community I can get involved in with Indigenous people. Couldn't really find anything. I mean, granted, it is during a pandemic, so a lot of things were just shut down and not happening. And
people were reluctant to kind of like show up because of fear. Or just because not fear, but just like public spaces and stuff like that. So people was leery of that. So but you actually had a good turnout. How many people?
I think there was like 8 of us. Yeah. So I kind of just created some graphic that I just like downloaded for free and just like promoted like, hey, I'm doing a Native meetup on this date at this coffee shop. It doesn't matter if you're creative, you can like from any lifestyle or career like you're a part of, is like if you want to learn more about being Indigenous, whatever that looks like to you, if you just want to hang out with people who can relate to you on some sort of level, then like just come. So I had a couple people, they're like, I don't feel like I should come because I'm not creative. I'm like, that's not the point of it. Like the point is just to get connected and like share resources with each other and just network. And I wanted to turn into this, this thing that can give people a way to like network with each other and learn from other people. Because I think the past few years I've been kind of on this journey, and I think I'm just trying to explore what it means to be Indigenous. And there's no set rule book to tell me like this is what it means to be Indigenous, like you have to do this and this and this. But it's just like finding your community, and like that's important to me. And I think we can always just learn from each other and build community. Like that's good enough for me. And so that's kind of how Native Meetup started. I've kind of put it on the back burner at this moment, just trying to be, precautious and safe, and like making the next event better and just working on that.
Build off the last one for sure. We showed up, we shot a lot of photos there, and we took some videos so the next time we can kind of promote it a little bit better. And also, honing in on this message, or honing in on like the what it's really going to turn into, and like what she wants it to be. And because we've been crazy, like every time we link up with certain people, we're like, hey, you should come to this too, though. This is going to be something that is going to be awesome, because the things that we're learning or doing, we're going just to pull back into this Native meetup, and just going to make it better each time.
When was that first one? When was the first one?
It was a week before Thanksgiving. Back in November.
Okay.
Yeah.
As soon as we showed up, I showed up to kind of show my support, and she walked up to some brown dudes, and I thought they was gonna show up for Native meetup. I was like, "Halito, brother," I was like, "Chima chima," They're like, "Cool," and I'm like, she was like, "All right," like slapped hands or whatever. See you later. I'm like, "Wait, they're not coming with us?" I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, awesome.
And then another thing, Wes was the only dude there, so it's just like all these women.
All women.
Wes was like, yes, I love this.
I was like, let's go.
But no, it was fun, and it got people excited for the ones in the future. A lot of people had messaged me, because I just promoted it through my own personal social media, like maybe 2 weeks prior to the event. But a lot of people messaged me since then. They're like, hey, I really wanted to come, but next one I would love to be a part of it. I would love to bring some of my friends or bring my cousin or something. So I think there's a bigger push for it this time. I know people are needing something, and I want to provide that to people.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a cool idea. Fuck. I was gonna ask you how was it promoted, but your personal
social media. I recorded this video of me talking about it, and it was so cringe, this video. And it was funny though. Like people were like, oh my god, this is so hilarious. I'm like, I'm just painfully awkward. I'm like, but you should come anyways. But we're Native. We all have a different sense of humor, We understand.
Yeah, for real. We get it. We get it.
But going through like the whole like traditional education, like being in college, they always push to like network. But you're like, where do I network? They're like, yeah, you just got to talk to the right people. I'm like, you're not providing me anything to go network.
You're being so vague.
Yes. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And so I think that was another reason why I think Native Meetup can give so much value, because it gives people a place to network. Like, as photographers, me and Wes, like I would love to like have some aspiring photographers come to Native Meetup, ask us questions, and network and get some sort of value from it, and just give people a place that they can feel comfortable and not so reluctant and feel like they don't fit in. But
yeah, because it's cool because how, you know, the whole dynamic between her and I, she comes from more of a traditional education. She's getting her master's in RSU, right? And then I'm just kind of like winging it as I go.
YouTube University.
YouTube University. Shout out YouTube. And the library. Your local library. Kids, go check out your local library.
Sponsored
There's so
by
much
Tulsa Public
there.
Library.
Yeah. There's so much there. Matter of fact, when I was like on the come up doing that, I was telling her all about that. I was like, you know, it's so crazy that people don't show up here and take advantage of these resources. I was like, I love it. Like, and I was like, it was so amazing. She offered, you know, gave me an opportunity to come back and teach a class there. And I was like, hell yeah. You know, and to be able to opportunity to give back and, you know, just talk to, you know, potential creatives coming up about storytelling. Because at that time I was loving videography, but at this time, you know, on social media, you was seeing just a bunch of same people imitating each other, bunch of Zoom transitions, nothing but orange and teal color schemes. Everybody's just, and that's fine. I did it too. I'm not, you know, I'm guilty of it. I thought it was cool, but I was talking about like just a sense of storytelling and how more important that is than the crazy gimmicky transitions. Like telling the strong story and keeping that storyline and keeping your shots tight and telling the story how it needs to be told, not elongating it and like to some, you know, documentary that it shouldn't be, but be able to tell the story and keep it snippy and keep it tight. And that was the bigger thing of that class. And that was a great, like, that was my first one. And I was winging that too, but it was just something from my passion and my soul that I was like trying to hone in on myself. So everything I was telling these kids, I was telling myself, you know, and I was trying to stay in the, you know, trying to keep in that whole practice what you preach mentality. Yeah. So it's been a crazy ride, but yeah, so seek out your resources and finding these finding these people that you can relate to and just be genuine and be vulnerable. Like that's the best thing you can do to network the best way you can. Is like, you don't know everything, be okay with that and just ask questions. Ask questions, how you can do better. What do you feel like I could have done better on? Oh, okay, you know, and take that with strive. A lot of times we get so tight, you know, these projects and things that are, we keep them so close to ourselves. We keep so much a part of them, you know, that we get scared to share that stuff because they'll hurt our feelings, you know, and be able to disconnect that from yourself and be like, and take that constructive criticism from people, you know. But I mean, obviously you got to protect your dream. You got to protect yourself. But so that's why you got to get out and find these people that you trust, that you can, you know, relate with and network with. And that's been a big thing, is like separating myself from my work. You know, like I am not my work. I'm, you know, something different. You know, I'm myself. And once you put it out in the world, it's out there. Yeah. You know, and be okay with that. Like what they say, to be an artist, you have to have the courage to be wrong of some sort. You know, I can't remember. I'm butchering that quote, but you get the point.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah.
So have you done any classes like Wes has, or? I mean, like taught, you know, classes?
Yeah, I watched a lot of YouTube just to learn how to edit. I watched a lot of Andrew Kern, Samuel Elkins, Jessica Whitaker. Those are my 3 favorite photographers that I just always looked up to. And anywhere from composition, location scouting, posing, and editing mostly, because I didn't take any courses or anything in college to teach me how to use Photoshop or Lightroom. It was everything I learned through YouTube on that. So yeah, I just spent a lot of time. I mean, doing it for 10 years, I just felt like I just now developed a craft for it over the past 3 years, when I really took it serious and really honed in on it and developed my style. And I think that's a beautiful thing about it, being like a photographer, any sort of artist, is like your work is always evolving. And it's just like, sometimes it's just so frustrating because you're like, that's not what I want it to look like. But it's the process. Like, you're learning and you're going back and you're looking at it and like, I could do this better. I can do this better. And so, yeah, YouTube was very helpful when it came to photography and editing, and a lot of podcasts when it came to creativity and all that. So, but I don't think I probably watched YouTube as much as Wes has.
I love YouTube, and I'm always, and that's the thing, like, I didn't go to traditional school or anything like that, but I stumbled onto courses that was really, like, honing in on a certain niche or a certain topic, and I would buy those courses, like these years in digital media and stuff, and the digital world is ever changing. There's a course for everything out there.
Yeah.
And, you can go to school and it could be, broad and vague subjects that might, touch on the surface of these topics of marketing or branding. But then there's a professional out there that's just as nerdy as, you want to be, and they'll dive a million miles down into a certain niche. Niches are where the riches are at, because you get to build so many layers of rapport, community, and like expertise, and you become that authoritative figure into that whatever niche you step into. And so that's where I was like, oh, okay. So I shot when I was out there, looking for my solution, I was lucked out. Somebody sent me a link to Ty Lopez social media management. He's the most cringy, like, he don't do them no more. I don't ever see it on his YouTube ads anymore, but he was the guy. He's like, these are my Lamborghinis in the back. I read 4 books this week, yada, yada, yada. I was like, ugh. But then the guy sent me the link, and I was like, all right, well, I'll watch it. And it was a webinar, but it was speaking right to my pain points of like everything I needed at that time. I was like, this is excellent, because I was just doing the videography and photography at the time, and I didn't know how to get my stuff seen. I didn't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
And so when he sent me this link, I was like, ooh. I really need this. So I went ahead and bought it. I didn't tell him I bought it because I didn't want to influence if he bought it or not. I just want to see if he would or not. He bought it. Then he's like, yo, you going to LA? Because I guess when you bought the course, you got a free ticket to this seminar. And I was like, hell no, I'm broke. Like, I'm doing what I can to struggle over here. I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I got rent to pay. I can't go to LA.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll pay the B&B if you want to go. I was like, oh. So I was like, yeah. And I was like,
say no more.
Yeah. And so I looked on, Allegiant, $200. I was like, I can do that. I can do
20-hour layover.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was so uncomfortable seats. Like, Allegiant sucks. But man, was it affordable. So we went out there to LA, and I felt like I jumped right into the deep end. But I was like, man, I'm going out here for, on a mission. Because I had thoughts of living out in LA like we all do, right? I wanted to move and travel, and I was like, I'm coming out here and hustle. I'm going to grind this whole weekend. Had a bunch of business cards in my pockets. I was handing them out like crazy. It's funny, like when you think about these seminars, walking into it, there's a line that wrapped around the block, and I was talking to all these people in line, like, hey, yeah, we should connect. I was just having that courage and like that id get, just that fuck it moment, just like, here, take this, whatever. And I get into the seminar, like I said, deep in. I didn't know enough I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know anything to like raise my hand and ask questions. I just like taking everything, but writing notes, just like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And went back to Tulsa, and within like 4 months of buying that course, I made my money back, and I landed my first client. But I was so hard up for, like I said, for a sale. Like I was struggling like that to make it all, piece it together and figure it out. I was just like, yeah. Oh, so they was like needing this thing, this website, this video, these photos, and I was just like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any so as soon as I was reading all of that stuff, I undersold myself like crazy. Had to go make sure I knew how to do what I needed to do. Quickly figured out, I was like, crap, I just made a job for myself. I was so like just go mode, and I had no time, because when you're out there selling, who's in there editing, when you're in there editing, who's shooting, then who's selling. So if you're doing all that and you don't have any systems built, it's just you gotta take this hat off, put this hat on, take this hat off, put this hat on, and then go. And I was like, holy crap, this is exhausting. This is burning me out. And but like I said, at that time I was just trying anything, whatever stuck to the wall, I was just trying it. And Bali, man, it was the same thing. We found a seminar out there, and it was a great opportunity, and charged it to the game. Let's go. And flew over to Bali, and I didn't go over there. I went in there on a mission too. Like when I was there, I was like, I'm going to shoot so much content I want to have it to surplus of content to be able to pull from and just like have this experience of shooting the, temples out there, shooting monkeys, like just experiencing it. I rented a little Vespa. Oh my God. I was driving that thing. I about died, like driving on the other side of the road.
gosh.
And like, it was crazy.
Living your best life.
Coming from Oklahoma. I was like white knuckling it. I was so scared. Just like, screw it. I gotta get to this temple. I gotta get these shots. And, but I'm so glad I did. And this funny thing is when I went over there, I didn't have a SIM card that would work. And so I was like, whatever. We had Wi-Fi. I roomed with 13 other people from all over the world, from New Zealand, New York, Jamaica, everywhere. And like we all stayed in this dope ass house, and like it was a 2-story house. I jumped off the roof into the pool. It was so cool.
Oh, shit.
And it was dope. But we had Wi-Fi there, and I was looking on Instagram like, where's the hot spots in Bali to take photos, and can I get there? So I would map it out the night before, and I would just like put it on my maps. And so I would leave the Wi-Fi, and the route would stay on the maps. So I could just like, as I was driving, look and check, and I'd pull over. And the traffic there is insane. Like all the little mopeds sound like angry bees, like nee. And like you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I have a whole backpack of gear on my back, just like it was horrible. And like every couple blocks I had to turn, stop and like look. And one time the map cleared. I was like, oh no, like how am I going to get back to the B&B? Luckily I figured it out, but it was a crazy experience, man. And but that's like I was going so much, and obviously going to a foreign country, my immune system lowered, was shot from exhaustion, probably malnourished, and I ate some weird chicken on the side of the road.
You're like, now I'm immune to the coronavirus.
Yeah. It was some weird stuff, but I knew I needed some sustenance in my body and needed some energy. And they said it was chicken. I don't know. It was fried, but it tasted so weird. And
God, Wes.
yeah, it was experience. And that's when I got back and I got sick, man. I got sick with pneumonia, and it was so gnarly. And I had jet lag at that time, so night was day, day was night, and I was so sick. I was like, and I was in a weird headspace at that time, and so that was the whole time during that rebranding of figuring it out, man. But like that journey has taught me a lot. Like I extracted so much from that, and like when you do, go to that level of perseverance, man, like. It teaches you a lot about yourself more than anything, and like be able to take that and put it into this business or put it into like the solutions, or give things back to either our community or our clients, man. Like that's where it's at for us, taking yourself down to that level. So I don't want to go off on too crazy of a tangent, but yeah, those journeys, man, it taught me a lot, and it's taken me a lot of, places.
Yeah. Moral of the story, like, be cautious of what you eat.
Yes. Well, hey, yeah. Moral of the story is like I should have gave myself a little bit more rest. I think.
Yeah.
Be gentle with your body. Give yourself grace. Man, because I think that the combination of exhaustion and eating weird food out there, and just like sleeping in the in the airport, and like it was just gnarly. Like as soon as I came off the airplane, like there. You just hit with just a wall of humidity. You're like, I'm here in Bali.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. It was raining there like crazy, cats and dogs. And when we show up, like we had to have a B&B before we got to the regular B&B. And it was raining, but it wasn't like anything that we hadn't experienced. And we show up and got there to the B&B and get into our room. Everything's fine. Crash. All of a sudden we're woken up, middle of the night, and our room is flooded. Like the whole corridor is like looks like a stream and like a creek inside out there, and it started flooding into the room and like coming through the ceilings and through the showers and stuff like that. And we was in like an inch full of water. Luckily, all our gear and everything was off, on the dresser and stuff like that. But man, like waking up towards that was day one. And then and after all the water receded and everything, the next day the sun was out. It was amazing. You're like, did that even just happen? Was that even real life? And you're like, we're here now. Like, I ain't going back. That was a 13-hour flight.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't doing that. Like, we're here. And so like that set the tone, like, you know, we're going to stay here and figure this crap out.
Makes for a good story. For sure.
Yeah.
And I took video of it, you know, so I got proof. You know? That was it. That was the thing. It's like, man, I can't believe that happened, you know, but it was cool. And like be able to live through that and like share that. And like, I think that's also what really taught me too, is like during this travel, you know, you talk to people about traveling and like, they have all these grandiose stories. Oh my God, it was so great. It was so lovely. And like, those are boring stories. Like, like tell me where you screwed up at. Like, tell me where all, like, you got lost. Tell me, like, you fighting with your significant other, but, you know, you rallied up, you know, and you just had the best time. Yeah, like, I want to hear those stories, man. Like, so, shoot, I got one at freaking, we went to that Ty Lopez seminar, and out there in LA, and same thing. Like, just that mentality of just go create, go do something, like go experience everything while you're out there, which is not smart, but I try. And so I hiked up to the Hollywood sign while I was out there. Little did I know that was a real effing hike. Like that was a long trek. I've never been there before.
Is that even legal to hike up to it? I thought it was illegal.
You could. They have fencing around the Hollywood sign, but there's
just don't climb the Hollywood sign.
Yeah, just don't climb
the
sign.
Okay.
Hollyweed.
Yeah, Hollyweed. And so and it was like one of the like record hot days in California, and they have all those grass fires and crazy stuff like that, you know. And it was just like a different kind of heat that I wasn't used to, and it was gnarly. And we only showed up with like a couple of bottles of water, and the park ranger drove by, and he's like, "That's not going to be enough." And he's like, "Hopefully, there's a one of those water containers and igloo containers, those orange ones that construction people use." He's like, "Hopefully, it's around the corner if it's still filled." And I was like, "Okay, like I'm fine. Like, all right, we'll try. You keep going." And I had a girlfriend at the time there. You know, she's never done anything like this, and I was like, a little bit more worried for her than myself, you know, but I was like, shit, you know, so I was giving her my water because she was a lot smaller than I was. And shit, so we get all the way up there, made it to the top. Yeah, this is awesome. All right, let's turn around, let's get back down. And so he's coming back down, barely any kind of service, trying to find an Uber or, what's the other one? Lyft, something. Somebody pick us up. Finally, we see, I guess, a Lyft sign guy drive by, but we still couldn't find like any service. We was like, "Please, just take us down the mountain until we get service, and we'll pay you." And he didn't speak. He barely spoke any English. My Spanish is not that good. And so we get on. We finally get down. Finally get Lyft, everything paid for. We get on, what is it, the 405? I think that's their main highway, the main big one, like 6 lanes. God. So and it was so hot, and we was like, "Can you turn the AC on?" This dude was like messing with the AC at the front, and I was like, I'm in the back seat like watching him. He was like really like turning his head. I was like, making me nervous, and he did it again, and all of a sudden we was like, whoa, smashed right into the back of a freaking car, and like we got into a wreck of the 405 on that, during that trip, right after that crazy like hike, and like we honestly didn't know if we was gonna have heat exhaustion from that hike or not, right? Right into a wreck after that, and then I was on my way to a photo shoot down at the beach, and so I was like, this sucks. I was like, but the show must go on. So this car stopped by to see if we was okay. And we was like, "You just take us to a gas station, please." Got to the gas station, got tons of Gatorade, and like, all right, and I was like, well, I told X, I was like, "Yo, you can go back to the hotel." I was like, I gotta keep going. I was like, I got this person gonna wait on me at the beach in Huntington Beach. I was like, I gotta show up, like, because it was some model, and she had this hella following, and I was like, this is gonna be a great opportunity to network and collaborate and get my work out there, especially here in LA. That was the main reason for everything, is going out there to establish some something out there so I can move my way out there and find work. And sure enough, man, like, we persevered. We show up at the beach. She went with me and stayed with me, and got her some food, got her to chill out and relax, and like we just got into a crazy wreck. And we go to the freaking beach, man, take these photos and kill it. And like, it was amazing. Sunset, it was gorgeous. And I was like, man, like, this is great. Like, this is, we persevered and went through this, and like it turned out okay. A couple weeks later, man, got a settlement for that wreck.
Really?
Paid for a camera.
What?
Yeah. So FYI, guys, if you guys get in a wreck with Uber or Lyft, you can file a lawsuit.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I had no idea, but somebody's like, yeah, you could, told us that we should try at least. And I was like, whatever. So I tried and I filed a claim. And
Nice.
yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, they settled. Obviously, they wanted to settle.
Yeah.
And so they settled for just a couple grand, but that paid for the trip.
Yeah, still.
As bad as this sounds, I don't want you guys to judge me, but as bad as that sounds, like it really, like that was crazy, and like be able to take that money, and I reinvested and paid off a camera that I purchased, and I was like, man, like that was luck, even that happening, but it was crazy coming back from that.
Damn. I'm gonna have to start taking Uber.
Right?
No.
Distract them. Distract the
Right?
drivers.
Jeez, like that guy, yeah.
Hey, look. Show off.
It's like, I earned my money the old-fashioned way. Insurance claim.
Yeah, I know that sounds horrible, but that was just a crazy coincidence that happened. And I didn't even think about trying to file for it until like a couple weeks after I got home.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Why not?
Why not? And I emailed him. I was like, hey, I was in a wreck, and one of your Lyft drivers was driving, and sure enough, they called, and they had a process for that. But another Uber driver from that trip told us to do that, so we got the inside info.
Yeah.
So.
Like, I think my neck is permanently damaged. I need $50,000.
Yeah. Shoot, being in jiu-jitsu all the time, I was already going to the chiropractor anyways. I was already hurt. I had doctor's notes. But no, it was crazy, man.
Wow. Well, no one try that. No one.
No.
We're just kidding around.
Yeah. Right? You got to have all these disclaimers.
I didn't
Uber and
expect
Lyft are
you
going to come after us now.
They're listening while they're driving. I didn't know your story was going to turn into that.
Yeah. Dude, no, I have so many
Holy
different stories
shit.
like that. Like, they're just crazy ones that, just screw it, jump, and figure it out on the way down. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of those stories. Shoot, when I was in college, man, I used to go buy $2 or two hot and readies, $5 a piece, obviously, right? The hot and readies, CCs, and come back to the dorms and sell dollar slice. Like, I've always had that kind of, figure it out, like hustle mentality, and that's kind of just carried with me throughout everything. Like, we've tried, like, why not?
I should have done that.
Right.
So when I was
a good old Bacon.
Oh, is that where you went, Bacon?
Yeah, I went Bacon for a year and dormed with the natives out there. I got an indigenous scholarship, and that's like what she was talking about. To kind of piggyback off you're saying, like, seeking this community, seeking what it was to be indigenous. I had the same thing. Like, we all, like, as in our generation, we kind of like we're striving to find this. If we didn't have a traditional background or traditional upbringing, you're always seeking this, just like out of nowhere, like something's itching at you to find out more about yourself and your indigenous heritage and culture. And like I said, I graduated from Wagner, and Bacon is in Muskogee, like just down the road. So I was like, oh, that's an indigenous college, even though it was a more Christian college, but it was still indigenous college. And I was like, okay, this is where I want to at least go try. And for what you pay there and the amenities they provide, nah, that place is falling apart. And that's where I realized, like, this is lame. Oh my gosh. I was like, it's not for me. But during that time there, I put myself in every indigenous class I could, like from song and dance, language, like everything, art. I just put myself into everything. No wonder, like, those credits didn't transfer.
Yeah. You're like, why isn't my basking weaving class transferring? I don't understand.
Yeah, but I loved it, man. I made a lot of connects, and I got in touch. The cool thing about it, I'm Oklahoma Choctaw. I got introduced to a lot of Mississippi Choctaws, and man, like, really started diving into stickball and like really fell in love with it, and then really was exposed to my language out there through these individuals. And that was always something I craved, to cultivate that and feed into that a little bit more. But my mother is, she don't speak it, and she's full blood Choctaw, and she don't speak it. But, killed Indian, saved the man.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
And like it bled down through the generations. And so that's the thing. Like, you have to go seek this stuff out. You have to go find it.
Yeah.
But when you're going looking for it, you got to have that humility that you don't know it all, and to not be prideful. And at the same time, surround yourself with people that's going to, feed into that, not chastise you, not make fun of you, because as individuals, stepping outside our comfort zone is hard.
Yeah. Traditional or not, we're all on our own journey. Because I didn't come from any sort of traditional background, whatever that looks like. Yeah. But my grandpa, so I'm Cherokee, but my grandpa on my mom's side is Oto, so I have Oto in me, but Oto Missourian, and he was a tribal judge for like 7 years when I was a kid, and was chief of the tribe a year until he had passed. So like I just remember my childhood like going to powwows, like growing up around that, and then he died when I was 7, and my mom just kind of like, she didn't have any connection to that anymore. That was like hard for her father not to be a part of it. She just kind of like, took me and my sister out of that culture and didn't really have anything else to do with it. And so I felt like from age 7 to like going into college, there was always this thing that I was looking for. I was like trying to find like, what does it mean to be me? Who am I? And so I think that's part of the journey right now is to be like looking or seeing what it means to be indigenous to myself. Like, what it looks like from my own personal journey and for my own life. And I think it's something that we're all going to probably be on for the rest of our lives is, on that journey.
Yeah. I'm trying to find that too, that indigenous, not lifestyle, but, try to figure out more about what it actually is too.
It's like almost like a balance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I grew up in Pawnee, and we had like a Pawnee language class in middle school, but I took it because everybody took it, all my friends that were native and stuff. So that's the only reason why I got into it, because hang out with them in class. But I remember like a few words and some phrases they were teaching us, but God, that was so long ago in middle school. I'm 30, I'll be 33 this year. So yeah, that was a long time ago. But 2 of my friends, they went to OU and they graduated. They've studied our language and our history. So now, in Pawnee, they're offering these language classes to our tribal members. And I don't think it's going on now because of the pandemic and stuff. But, they were doing it, and then I think they had to stop because of this. But, I have not made it there yet.
Yeah.
I've been telling them, like, I'm going to come, and I want to learn at least, something. My language at least, because, and then when I went to IA in New Mexico, it was like, I was telling Jake this, but, I went there and I didn't really know too much about my tribe, I guess. And then when you go there, all these Native Americans, indigenous people, they know, like a lot of them knew their background, their language, where they come from, who they were related to back in the day and stuff. And he was like, yeah, it's intimidating. I was like, yeah, it was intimidating because I didn't know shit.
Yeah.
And then, I would tell people like, yeah, I'm Pawnee, and then there are some people that knew like stories about Pawnee people. So they would tell me, and then I would learn from them and hit up the old library, and hit up the old Google, and I just started kind of learning that history, on myself, because I was like, I'm not afraid to ask questions now, but when you're young and you feel like you kind of don't belong even in your own tribe, and you kind of just feel like, well, I don't want to ask because they might think of me like
less than.
Like because I felt like I should already know this stuff. I felt like that, but now I don't care. Like you said, don't be afraid to ask anything.
Yeah, and I think the conversation has shifted over, like, even seeing over the past couple of years, like, not having all these gatekeepers or like, well, I'm more native than you, like, I have a higher blood quantum, but like now, like, a lot of indigenous people are rejecting the whole blood quantum rhetoric that, that's just a form of colonization. Like, that wasn't our idea. We never wanted that in place. It was something that the government put on us.
Yep.
And so I think it's opening up a lot of conversation and open floors for us to like share our stories, share what we know, and teach others. And I think it's a good time to be indigenous right now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing for me, like trying to find any kind of platform to tell my stories or my experiences. And maybe like, indigenous person might hear this, a kid that needs to, like, they're stuck on a reservation or stuck in their own, like, like, what should I be? I don't know what I am.
Yeah.
Just live life, bro. Like, do you, and like, but find out what find you. Like it doesn't, you don't have to fit into a box, like, because you have dark hair, dark skin. You don't have to be that box, but you know, it's because we're always going to be seeking out and like figuring out who we are for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
We'll go through these changes, and like, you know, our taste buds change every 7 years, you know, so our you know, our minds we mature, and like we lose these, you know, these things that we used to chase, or these, you know, old perspectives of ourselves or of the world. You stop at a certain age, like I'm 33 as well.
Yeah.
You know, a certain age, you stop giving a shit about what people think.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's the superpower, man. Like when you really step back and be like, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. If I sound dumb, then so fucking be it.
Yeah.
But I want to know this, you know? So that's exactly what the fuck I've been thinking about. So
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, all these crazy stories and all these, you know, I'm not afraid to go make a failure.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to tell you about my failure, because it is what it is. Like, at least I'm trying.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that's one thing too that jiu-jitsu has really given me, is like, you know, we roll. I mean, you know, I've been doing this jiu-jitsu, like I said, about 10 years, and you have your good days when you're the hammer, and you have your bad days when you're the nail, and you got to take the good with the bad, and you set your ego at the door. And when, you know, leave your ego there is in a sense of like, I'm here to learn, or I'm here to teach somebody. You know, I'm here to make them better, because the more I make them better, the better training partners they are for me. And then they'll make me better, because they're going to push me harder, you know, and be like, it's okay to tap. It's okay to get beat.
Yep.
You just you either win or you learn. And that's, you know, that's, you got to look at life too. It's like, you got to go out here and try, and you got to make these messy mistakes and fail forward, fail often. You know, they say that all the time. At least you know, you don't get any experience unless you try. You know, you got to fail to get experience. So it's a weird, vicious cycle, but you got to have that thick skin, you know, and bulletproof mind. And if you don't have a bulletproof mind, be okay with asking for help.
Yeah.
You know, that's okay too. Like it's like, you know, mental health is, you know, not now you see it as in the community, mental health is becoming more and more of a conversation. Like people are okay, you know, especially males now are like coming out more and talking about mental health and like their struggles, and like that toxic masculinity is not a thing. You know, it is a thing, but it's like a thing that people are willing to get past now, and like willing to, you know, deal with and like hit head on. And that's been like with my journey too, is like, you know, jiu-jitsu and wrestling, I've lost a lot. You know, but able to take those, you know, losses with stride, and always extracting the lesson, or the, you know, the situation out of it, and evaluating what went wrong or what you could have done better, and be like, I'll remember that next time.
Yeah.
You know, there's always going to be a next time. We we forget how long we're really here on this earth, and we're just, you're at the same time though, it's a blink of an eye. You know, so however you want to use that to give yourself strength for the next day or tomorrow, it's like, you're here for a long time, so you better, you know, start figuring this thing out. At the same time, we're here for a blink of an eye, so what's stopping us? Move forward, move something, do something. You know, if it's not internally, or if it's giving something to your significant other, but, you know, just be grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's at the end of the day, you know. Whether we win or fail or lose or make $1 million, whatever it is, you know, just be grateful. We're here, just, you know, working our ass off, or be able to be here and breathe.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Just deep.
Yeah.
Going
This
deep
guy
with
is-
Okie.
Wes is deep, man. I love it, man. Shit. I love that. I love that energy. Yeah, I thought of that too, like doing jiu-jitsu and shit. Well, it's hard to tell somebody what jiu-jitsu is when they don't do it.
Yeah, I forget you're blue belt, right?
Yeah, blue belt.
Nice.
Blue belt for 10 years. But
It doesn't matter. You're still. Hey, you still been on the mat, bro. It doesn't matter.
fuck, I need to get back in it, man. And we moved from because I was gonna go to Omar French's because I live like right there.
Shout out to Omar French.
Shout out,
He's a good dude.
shout out Omar French. Shout out all the jiu-jitsu heads in Tulsa.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's getting real big. And but fuck, man, yeah, I just because I know what you're talking about, like that drive, like even with jiu-jitsu, because man, like I couldn't go back to school because I owed a fucking outstanding amount of money, so I couldn't go back, and I was like, fuck, what do I do? You know, what do I do with my fucking time? I just don't want to work because I was like 22 or 23, so I still had like a lot of energy, and I still felt relatively athletic.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started Googling MMA gyms because my brother did he did MMA and he moved to Tahlequah and he started a MMA gym.
Nice.
And so I didn't know anything about MMA. Like I watched it every now and again, but I didn't know shit about it. I just thought it was wrestling or something, and you throw in some punches. So I was like, yeah, like, you know, I was real ignorant about it. I was like, I'll just go in there and, you know, I'm still strong or whatever, so I'll probably just hold down everybody.
Yeah.
But man, I remember like the first time I went, and I did like this little intro class, so it seemed pretty easy. You know, they just show you like shrimping out. They show you I don't know, takedowns, a little takedown or whatever. It's like, cool, yeah, you know, I'll get into it. So then I finally started getting into it. I remember like the first day I went, it was a hard freaking session. And this guy, his name was Jason, I believe. And he was probably like maybe 205 maybe. He was a cop. And he wore the headgear because he had a really bad cauliflower ear, and they had to drain it after every practice. Yeah. So, but that's why he was wearing that. I was like, oh man, you know, like, and I was probably like maybe 3 inches taller than him. So I was like, oh man, like, and he was training with me. So man, I'm just gonna lay on him. I'm just gonna teach this guy, like, you know, like
mass matters.
Yeah. I was real stupid, man, because I didn't know what the fuck it was or anything. And it's not even about that. Like when you do jiu-jitsu, man, it's technique and it's just like it's chess.
Man.
It's chess.
Yeah.
And fuck, I went in there and we were rolling, and this dude was just, I gassed out in like 30 seconds. This dude was all over me.
Yeah.
You know, on my back and choking me out. And like the 5 minutes, man, he probably killed me. He killed me in like 5-6 times. And I felt like, God, this sucks, because I've never been handled like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you
and
feel
really,
how you feel so vulnerable and so like helpless.
And it just felt like I was drowning. Like I was just in the ocean, and you come up for air, and then you take a little bit of air, and then you get sucked back down. That's exactly what it felt like when he was just doing whatever he wanted to do to me.
Yeah.
And I felt like really discouraged, and I was like really like I wanted to quit. Like I don't want to come back because I felt embarrassed. But when you're in that community, like jiu-jitsu and stuff, like they're not there to bash you if you get your ass kicked or something. You know, they're always there to willing to help and everything. So he was really cool about it. Like he was like, "Hey, just keep coming back, man." He goes, "It'll get easier," and he goes, "Just keep coming back, man. Don't quit." Because I was like, I think I told him, I was like, I don't think I can come back anymore.
I don't think this is for me.
Oh, this is for me because, bro, like you just kicked my ass, and I feel like shit.
Yeah.
But that's always like a memory that I have of like doing my first like actual jiu-jitsu practice. But I kept going, and I did get better, and then I did my first tournament, and
nice.
And then it just like all like started like I wanted to be like an MMA fighter, like go for UFC, and so I was working, and I'd come in the mornings and do their CrossFit stuff, and then in the evenings I'd wake up, and then I'd do jiu-jitsu, and then I'd do like striking after that. But man, I'm like really injury prone, so I always get fucking hurt. No matter what, I always get hurt. So then I was like, I'll just probably stick to jiu-jitsu. But jiu-jitsu is like, oh man, there's just something about it where
there's nothing like it.
Yeah,
man.
It's just like, have you tried it, Brittany?
No,
not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Better
Tells
go.
me all the time.
You need to go. Like it's,
One of these days, I'll get her in there.
Yeah, it's really just stick to it, man. Like, and everybody's really cool. You know, I know every BJJ community is like fucking cool as shit. You do have your douchebags, but sometimes they fizzle out.
They're few and far between. That's where I like to explain to people about jiu-jitsu. It really it exfoliates the douchebag. At the same time, it strengthens the meek. Like people will figure out once they get into it, like how strong they really are. Because once they learn a little bit of technique or learn that they're not made of China, you know, and like they get themselves into those positions of dying, gasping for air, exhaustion, and yet you get your wind back and you're like, holy shit, like I'm still here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
I'm still alive. Like that was intense, you know, that was crazy. But then it takes a certain type of person, their mindset, if they're willing to let the jiu-jitsu magic work on them, like that medicine, it really exfoliates certain things of yourself, and you go down those moments of like gasping for air, and you come up from into the surface, but in those moments underneath it, you're really like going to battle with yourself. And at the same time, like you have to be there in the moment. If not, you're going to get beat. You're going to get submitted or something, right? So you have to stay in that moment. No matter like what's going on in the day, you come through that door, it all stays out there, and then you're able to, like I said, give yourself just an hour, but you're intense like into something else. And so I feel you, bro. Like that, it's just a crazy connection when you have within that jiu-jitsu community that you just don't really get anywhere else. I get white belts all the time, or people that come in off the street for the first couple classes and knuckle up. I'm like, so I ask, I introduce myself every time, and I'm like, why jiu-jitsu? Like, why'd you pick this? Like, what? And I love to hear those crazy stories, and like then to see if those people really stick around, man. Then you see them progress, and you're like, man, you've really grown. You've mentally, physically, emotionally. Like they're not the same type of person.
Yeah.
And you see a change inside them, and they know that they're not, they can push their body or their mind further than they thought. And like that's a special kind of person after they've done their time. And I got a lot of friends in the jiu-jitsu community, and like just through that, and shoot through business too. Like you work with other jiu-jitsu people, and you just have this connection, understanding. In 2009, I had that same thought too. I wanted to do MMA, and I thought I was really going to fight full time. I did fight full time. I quit my job. I was working at the casino. That's where I met George.
Oh, okay.
Shout out George Alexander. No,
he'll be on soon.
Yeah, I invited his ass out there, and we beat the shit out of each other for a while too. He's done MMA or training with me, and he's done jiu-jitsu every now and then. I'm gonna get him hooked up over there at Triton before it's all said and done. But man, like I quit my job, and I was fighting full time. I was training, like lifting weights, and then I do my cardio, then do my stand up and jiu-jitsu, and it was an 8-hour day job. That was what I was doing on the reg. And I quickly realized I didn't want to do that no more. I was tired of getting the shit kicked out of me and cutting weight. The cutting the weight was just another fight, and I fought at 155, and that was rough. And I wasn't making a lot of money, and I was just struggling to survive and constantly going to work out and stuff. And I was like, nah, this is not for me. But I was in love with jiu-jitsu though, and like because of wrestling. And but I quickly turned that, and I found a job on Craigslist teaching karate, and I was like, sweet, I'll try it. Making $10 an hour, I didn't give a shit. I was still immersing myself in martial arts at some point. And I showed up to the interview, and I was like, I don't have to sing like Kumbaya. I don't have to sing like Barney songs and shit like that, do I? Because I was like, I've never been in a formal martial arts place. I was always in Mr. MMA badass, egotistical as hell. And I showed up very first day. Like I had to line up with the little kids. I'm like, all right, where to put this little gi on? Like I felt so silly. Like I said, I wasn't in the martial arts before that. I was always just no gi wrestling, combative jiu-jitsu. It's always that mentality. And so I was like, I've done Muay Thai, so I was really rigid and just like, And like these little kids are like Kia, Kia, and they was looking at me like so weird and foreign. I was like, oh my god, what am I doing here? But talk about like getting past my ego right there. It's like you have to get past that and being in front of people, and like I look like a fool. Like I just felt like so silly. But as I got to know these little kids, and just seeing these little foster kids come, little badass attitudes and mentalities, but and hanging out with me, like I would talk to them like just another martial artist, and like, hey, how's what's going on? And, like you working on this? Just talk to them. And seeing their change was that, and as 25, I was a 25-year-old, this little badass kid, like trying to find my way in life, right?
Yeah.
But I seen the change that happened to those kids. They was yes sir, no sir. They was like striving to like be better and do better, like to get their little stripes. Like they would come and tell me what they did in school. I was like, wow, there's something to this martial arts. And I was like, that's really where it hit me first of all. Like when it first hit me. Then I started respecting. It was like kind of Taekwondo, karate kind of stuff. I started really looking at it from a different perspective, and I was like, Taekwondo is pretty badass. Like the kicks and stuff, and the mentality, and like. So I was like, oh man. So I really took it seriously and went from just holding pads for kids and like, whatever, to actually run in the school and like teaching. And I was like, man, this is. And then at the same time, I was teaching at Title, so it just constantly combated and like doing stand up. Like it was great. It was the best job in the world. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays was like forms and weapons day. Like I got to play with nunchucks and swords and like bow staffs. It was awesome. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays was sparring. I got to beat little kids up. I got to punch kids. Got to put gloves on, and they loved me because they knew I was a fighter from before. So they was just like gravitated towards me and like wanted to know everything what I was doing. And I tell them I go train and work out, and I started implementing jujitsu in there with the karate kids and the taekwondo, and they loved it. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I love it too. I was like really in love with it. I got my first jiu-jitsu book when I was in high school from my football coach.
Oh, really?
I used to rent the UFC on VHSs and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so he gave me my first jiu-jitsu book in high school, and I just loved it. And but after when I really started teaching them jiu-jitsu, like what I knew of it just in the no-gi, I was like, I got to find me a gym for me and myself. And that's where it was like 2012, and I come across Triton, and I showed up first day. Got my ass handed to me, even having experience, but not in the gi though. It was so different and like just a different animal. And the caliber of people at Triton I was like, yep, if I'm getting my ass whooped, I was like, this is where I need to be, and I signed up, and I've been there ever since.
Damn.
Yeah.
Has it always been over there? Mm-hmm. That giant building?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's where I was. They was at a spot at 51st when I was competing and fighting. Mm-hmm. They had a smaller spot at 51st and Mingo-ish. But I joined them when they was at the Broken Arrow spot, and just been there ever since, man.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been a crazy ride for sure.
Holy shit. Man, and you're a brown belt?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, now I see like your little snap, or not snap, but like your stories on Facebook. Mm-hmm. On Sundays you go roll and shit.
Yeah, I try to get in there as much as I can, but running a business and you got to make time where you got to make time. Sometimes you're in flow state when you're working and you're like, I got to skip out today,
Yeah.
Because if you're in the mode, you're in the zone, you guys just stay with it and hooked up, and then sometimes my body just doesn't let me. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm beat, just tired. But I tell everybody I'm very consistent at being inconsistent, and like that's one of my guilty like moments. Like I need to be more consistent. But at that time, I was going like 4 times a week. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
So I'm like, it is what it is. It's a journey. It's not a race. And it's just like that's where I had to learn that too. Is like when I was younger, I was just like wanting to get off my white belt, or it was blue belt. I was wanting to get off of. I got my blue belt, and I was just like, I was there for like 3 years, and I was like, oh my god, I just want to get off this belt. I just want to get to my purple. Once I got the purple belt, I was just like, I'm just gonna sit right here. I don't care if I go up. I love being at that purple belt. I love purple though too. So I was just like, man, it is what it is. No big deal. It's just a journey. And after that, my whole mentality, everything, my technique changed, and I actually adapted that same mentality from jiu-jitsu into entrepreneurship. Because like I would pay money to go to seminars. I was doing the same thing in jiu-jitsu, and I was like, I'm gonna do the same thing in entrepreneurship. If I want to get better and learn more techniques, I'm going to go find who's the best at it, and I'm going to go watch their seminars, or I'm going to go do their seminars. Same thing, same concept, because we'd have like high-level guys, world champions come in, and you pay your money, you go learn their technique, and that's the thing. Like, you can know an arm bar, but like you can pick up just nuances, just small different adjustments that somebody else that, they do it, and you're like, wow, change a whole other, perspective of the technique. And that's another reason why I really fall into like photography and jiu-jitsu. Is something that you'll never master.
Yeah.
You'll never master it. There's always something new coming out that you have to learn, or you have to keep up with, or internally you have to remind yourself, like same thing with photography. You got to remind yourself certain, exposures, certain alignments, and, these leading lines. Same thing in jiu-jitsu. You got to remind yourself certain techniques. And like with the gi, if you're not doing it correct, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
The gi, it really makes you hone in it tightens your game. And because in no gi, you can be a little bit sloppy and get away with certain things. Not with the gi.
Yeah.
And you have that, if you know that you've been there 1,000 times in these uncomfortable positions, you get in that positions and you're like gasping for air, and you're like, I'll be all right. You feel like you're breathing through a straw, but I'll be okay, because you understand, like, you can feel the energy with people. You can feel them breathing hard and heavy. You know, in a minute they're going to try to move somewhere else and translate or transfer something. And when they do that transition, you're able to take advantage and counter, or just weather the storm. Just stay in that pocket and embrace that moment. It too shall pass. And you tell yourself that. I tell myself that all the time, because I'm putting myself in bad situations. You know, I max out maybe 168 pounds, and I'm going against a big dudes, but I put myself in these awkward positions because, you know, you bleed in training, you bleed less in the, you know, the real competition or in life. You know, you do as much as you can in that training. You try to push yourself as hard as you can. So, like I said, it translated perfectly into entrepreneurship, because a lot of times it's feast or famine. Like, if you don't have the right systems or the right situation, or a pandemic hits, you know, like, so you got to stay comfortable in that uncomfortable situation and be like, weather the storm, this too shall pass. Like, you know your passion, you know your process, you know where you're going. Just stay there and, like, figure it out. And, like, that's where, like, her and I linking up has been such a, you know, great opportunity for both of us to learn and collaborate with each other. She has such a different eye and perspective of photography that I don't. You know, that I see different things from a different perspective and different colors, and I'm learning a lot from her, and just, like, sharing things that I know, it's going to only make me better, because me sharing it. That's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. I'm not going to hold my technique from you. I'm going to share it with you because I need to learn it better. Yeah. And if I can't teach it, I don't know it good enough.
Yeah.
So true.
And so that's really helped a lot.
Yeah. And just to clarify, Wes can kill me. He's a fucking brown belt.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, people don't realize that too. Like, you know, because I worked with this one guy at the casino, and he was a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. And, you know, I was like, holy shit, dude. I was like, damn. I was like, that's fucking badass. He was there, and he knows Pete and everything. That's where he got his, too, over there at Triton, because I was asking about Triton. And then I remember he was talking about hip tossing. Hip tossing somebody. Yeah. He goes, oh, I'll just hip toss you. He's telling somebody that, and I, like, it caught my ear, because I know what that is. Yeah. And that person he was telling, they were like, well, what's that? So
let me show you. Come here.
So anyways, we started talking, and I was like, do you, like, do jiu-jitsu or something, or do you do judo, you know? Oh, I do jiu-jitsu, you know, I'm brown belt. And I was like, holy shit, dude. I was like, wow, I would have fucking never knew that. So we'd always, like, talk jiu-jitsu in the little bank area, and then people would ask, like, well, what's jiu-jitsu? So it was hard. It was always hard to explain what jiu-jitsu is to people that don't know what it is. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, we just, you know, either put on this gi and choke each other. Like,
we wrestle in pajamas.
What I always say is, we just try to kill each other. Yeah. You're just training to be a freaking murderer. Yeah. Yeah. That's all it is.
When you tell that to somebody like her, she's like, I'd rather not. Yeah. But no, it's something.
Just kidding, Brittany. It's all fun.
It's just like, I don't want to do it anymore.
It's just violent hugs. It's just violent yoga. Yeah. But no, like, even the females are really, like, showing out and showing up. Like, they're like, shoot, Jordan Patrick, she's amazing competitor. And then, shoot, she's amazing just in the jiu-jitsu community. She's putting on seminars, self-defense for women, and she's killing the game. But just see, like, the classes that she's teaching, they're growing like crazy, and more females are getting involved in competitions. They're actually having their own, you know, tournaments and stuff. And I don't want to say tournaments, but like super fights and like actually shows, like jiu-jitsu shows. And it's been crazy to see, even in UFC, watching. Look, did you check out Amanda Nunes last weekend? Oh my God.
Beat the brakes off.
Yeah, she is just on another level. Literally the best, you know, woman MMA fighter to date.
For sure, yeah.
And she hits like a Mack truck, and on top of that, like champ, like she's destroying every competitor that she's going against. And like, you got to step, like, she's not really into MMA, but I'm educating her. I'm learning her. We watched the fights.
It's forcing me.
Well, I'm talking to her from a different perspective, not only like, big bad fight, but I'm like, if you think about like what they're doing in a whole perspective, like, you got to respect that mindset. You have to see what they're doing as a whole, like, to really step back and like these people are putting themselves under crazy amount of stress and pressure, not only to perform, but to stay at that top level and constantly go out there and do the road work, go work out, cut weight, eat right. Like, that's a struggle just as an individual, and I'm not even at that level, and that's where I quickly realized after fighting for, full time for a year, I was like, this might not be for me, and be real with yourself. And like, what amount of damage and punishment are you willing to take versus the reward? Mm-hmm. I love the martial arts side of it. I love Ninja Turtles. I loved all that stuff. Right. And, but I didn't like to get into the cutting the weight. I was, cutting weight my whole life as a wrestler and coming up doing it. I was like, it's never easy. But I didn't do it the right way like those athletes are doing nowadays. Like, you see how they're performing. They're eating right nutrition. They're eating, they're with the right programs. And like, it's changed like the whole perspective of UFC or the fight game, how they're doing their cutting weights, and they're doing it. Now, you'll see people argue back and forth that, it's unhealthy and it's unsafe and they shouldn't cut weight, but to each his own. It's all subjective. I think they should cut weight.
Yeah.
Because I've grown up in that mindset. Because not only it all depends on how much weight too, though, they're cutting. So there is a dangerous level and there is a okay amount. But because when you're going through that process of cutting weight or getting ready for a fight, it's something that triggers in your mind that's like, oh, this is go time, or it kind of purifies the body in a sense, because you get all that crap, you quit eating crap and really putting the work in and getting your body to a certain level. And you have to have that mindset to like, all right, I'm not going to stop. Like, it's going to suck, it's going to get rough, and it's going to be hard, but it's for a purpose. And like, that does something to your mind and like to get yourself to these certain levels. And they always say, like, once you weigh in, that was the first fight, and you made it. Now it's the easy, fun part of punching somebody in the face, But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that tangent, but it's crazy. Women MMA.
Shout out Women MMA. No. Yeah, dude, they're like, I enjoy their fights more than the fucking dudes fighting.
Sometimes man, they're killing man, you put some of them together and they're making history. Like, that Zhang Wei Li, that Chinese first China champion, and Polish fighter.
Oh, she's the one that.
She's
the one that beat Cyborg, right?
No. That was Amanda Nunes beat Cyborg.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
She
was. I can't remember her name. Joanna J.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched that fight, go pick that up on YouTube real quick and go watch it after this podcast, because Joanna looked like something out of a cartoon after she got done with that fight. Oh. But it was like literally probably a fight of the year. Like last year or 2 years ago, whenever it happened. Mm-hmm. It was so intense, and just like their perseverance, and they went all 5 rounds.
Yeah, and
you couldn't recognize her after she was done. Her head, the hematoma on her forehead swelled up. It was actually shaking when they hit her. Like, you could see it would indent, and like, it was nuts. What is it? Oh, Joe Rogan. Jamie, pull that shit up real quick.
Yeah.
you need a Jamie.
That's what somebody else said. They're like, you need yourself a Jamie.
Yeah. He's like, what is it?
Hey, Jamie.
Yeah. Pull that shit up.
Yeah, I remember seeing that the night it happened. Like, it was posted on whatever sport thing was on Facebook. But yeah, her head was just, dude, it was unreal. Like,
that's gnarly.
Yeah, if like an alien, dude, like those aliens that people draw. Like,
yeah,
fucking, I wish you wouldn't have shown me that.
Yeah, it was gnarly,
man. Like, oh god.
So that's the comparison. For everybody who's tuning in, listening, I went and Googled it because I needed to show that to Brittany.
Brittany needs to see that.
Yeah.
Don't Google that.
That's not
don't Google that.
Scarred for life.
Not safe for work.
Yeah, exactly. Yikes.
That won't happen though.
No.
Yeah.
Only happened to her.
Just, whatever.
Yeah, you're gonna do good.
Yeah.
Like, this might happen, but it probably won't.
Honestly though, like, I've heard something like, and it's always stuck with me, and it's so true. But with jiu-jitsu, is like, jiu-jitsu is the only sport. And I'm sure people's gonna correct me or whatever. Do it in the comments. Fight me, whatever. But no, like, jiu-jitsu, is the only sport you can go 100 miles an hour, with somebody that you trust, and if you know what you're doing, and you won't get hurt. if you trust yourself and like that's where you gotta let go of your ego and tap.
Yeah.
And say I'm done, or like tap out, like understand, but don't like give yourself a moment to like feel the pain and like can you adjust and like get out of this. But if you tap out, you're never gonna get hurt, like, and you trust somebody you roll with, like, it's their responsibility to take care of you too. It's part, because they're not just going to take your arm to Texas and rip it off. Because if that's the thing, like if we was to roll, like I wouldn't just like beat the living shit out of you. You're not going to get anything out of that, and nor will I. And so I want to always, like, I roll at the pace of whoever I'm rolling with, and there is times that I want to turn it up. It's just because maybe I want some cardio that day, or maybe just having a bad day, and you just want to turn it up and feel that burn, but there is something about that when you get to that level of exhaustion, you're like, holy crap, like, what am I doing? But then you're like, you feel those endorphins firing. You're like, hell yeah. If you're not setting out the edge of your seat and pushing your body or mind to the edge of the limits, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like if you're not making something happen with inside yourself or in life, man, like you turn it up somewhere. And so you feel, you feel alive when you're at that point of exhaustion. You're like still fighting for it. And I think the Gracie said it too, is like when you get to that level, I don't know, it might be a Gracie, but they said if you get to that level of exhaustion, that's when your true jiu-jitsu comes out, because you can't rely on strength, size, speed. You have to rely on technique, and that's when they say it really comes out. I was like, that makes sense. So I try to push myself. I try to get myself, like, I don't want to say I try to get myself to that level, because my cardio sucks, and I get to that level pretty quick. But when you get there, you're like, oh, here we go. You just keep pushing. You just keep going. You maybe get yourself a drink of water, but, you try to even minimize that and, like, just keep you rolling going. And because if you're trying to hydrate while you're there, you're fucked up a long time ago. You should have hydrated a long time ago. Hydration don't work like that. You should be hydrating throughout the day. And
you lose a lot of fluid, man. In that fucking gi.
The gi averages 3 pounds roughly, 2-3 pounds, and so you're carrying that extra weight, but then it gets sweaty and gets wet, and it's heavier. It's a lot heavier, and like you have another person on top of you smashing you. Good stuff.
Sometimes.
But no, I'm educating her. I'm teaching her. When we get there, and I make her go watch the fights with me where we're out and about. I try to explain it the best that I can. I tried to build the story up more for her than say like be technical, like, because people that don't understand it don't give a shit about the technicalities. But if you build the story up, which Dana White does perfectly with these fights, like, somebody that she can get more interested and be like, oh, okay, like he's 20-0, like Adesanya was 20-0. He just got his first loss in MMA. That dude's,
I think he was 28-0. 28, right?
No, you're thinking of oh boy, the Eagle.
Khabib.
Nurmagomedov. Nurmagomedov. Yeah, he's I think he's at 29-0. He still has his perfect record, but he was Adesanya was 20, and now he's 20-1. But he has fought, like, in kickboxing, he has like over 100 fights. And being as young as he is, like, I was like explaining to, like, he has an opportunity to potentially make history tonight, and different other stats that I can't remember, but there's so many different stats that he had a lot of potential to make history that night. And so if you explain that to somebody that doesn't know MMA or combat sports, like, share the story.
Something that someone can rally behind.
Yes.
Like, everyone loves a good story.
Yes. Or just talk shit to them, and so they root against you. So it makes it fun all the way around. Right?
Yeah.
Put some money on it.
What you want to put on it?
Yeah, put it on. I'm going for the green guy.
Adesanya. I can't believe he lost, man.
I know.
That's crazy.
But dude, he was going against was a big dude. I'm not going to butcher his name, Blakovic or something like that. But he's another Polish guy.
Yeah.
The Polish power.
Yeah.
But he fought a good fight. He was very technical. He showed his veteran side that night. We didn't get to watch the whole thing because
someone got sleepy.
Yeah, I got
Not
sleepy.
Me,
I got sleepy, and then the service went out. I guess they lost connection at the bar.
Oh yeah, it was buffering, and we were just like, whatever, let's just leave.
lame.
So it was like a good time just to get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, I was exhausted though by that time.
Yep.
My natural bedtime is like 9 and 10 o'clock. I just get sleepy, narcoleptic, just ready to hit the bed.
Real quick, so what's the future for One Trip Media? What do you guys want to do?
Oh
what
my God, there's so much.
Yeah.
Feels like there's so much on the horizon, so much on our plates, and whew.
Yeah, I think the big next opportunity is the end of this month. Yeah, March 27th to 28th, we're doing a Storytelling for Change Summit with Photographers Without Borders, and it's in partnership with Sony. So that's a big deal for
cool.
us.
Yeah, we're super excited because, I mean, if you can't tell, I'm a natural storyteller by just in general.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's such a great opportunity. We're super stoked to be able to do this and be put on a platform like this,
Yeah.
and like be able to speak to individuals or just share our stories and our journeys. And the bigger idea is like, we want to take this and start making workshops and take this and put it to use out in the community or in our communities, like whatever these communities are, photographers, creatives, or entrepreneurs, or on social media. Like that's the thing, like when you think of communities, it's not just society, it's just different communities that you build and you cultivate. And so we want to take this opportunity to mold these into workshops for entrepreneurs, like these make it or break it moments that we've been talking about. Like they're out here, and like you just got to go seek them out and go find these resources and just try to make something. Even as us being photographers, we're going to help teach entrepreneurs how to make content for themselves and like how to tell a story like with some substance and something that connects to their either their client, their customer, or their patient, whatever it is. You're able to pick up a cell phone and actually convey your message and something and put it on social media and have the confidence of believing in that message and having a story. Like, that's the big thing that we want to provide out of these workshops and just help individuals like help themselves. That's the biggest thing. So.
And that's the whole reason why we kind of got this opportunity, was the connections that we built with it was with 400 Years Project, which is a nonprofit that kind of just highlights Native American photographers and filmmakers and just people who are making an impact in their community. So we got connected with them over the past couple of months, and they presented this opportunity like, hey, we think you'd be a perfect fit to tell your story, how you're impacting your community. You should just go ahead and apply for this. So we applied. We really didn't think anything of it. We're like, well, if we get it, we get it. That will be awesome. And then it was a couple weeks after we submitted our application, they told us that we got accepted. And so, yeah, it's going to be, it's a big deal with the name Sony attached to it and Photographers Without Borders. Like, this is global. Like, this is huge. So we're going to be talking about the topic of, reflecting on our own personal stories to become stronger storytellers. So we'll talk about our personal stories, kind of what we just talked about through here and Native Meetup. And it's going to be a great thing that we can almost repackage in a way to help our local community, our local creatives.
Yeah, even in like all aspects of, telling, how to facilitate these stories and tell these inner stories to ourselves to, build ourselves up and not tear ourselves down so much either. Like I've told you, this whole podcast is like, there's been a lot of failures in my life, but able to take that story and take the power back and tell you a funny story and like tell you something of inspiration and perseverance. Like that's what the underlining tone is for me, and we have a lot of stories that we've told ourselves and like we've had to live through and to get to this point of our lives of master's degree, in entrepreneurship, or whatever this is, a brown belt, whatever these moments are, you have to rally up and tell yourself these, even if you have to make it up, believe it till you achieve it, fake it till you make it, whatever you need to get you by, whatever, metaphor you got to use. But it's just one of those things, like, you're able to step back, give yourself 30,000 foot perspective and give yourself some grace and like, listen to how you tell these certain stories or how you're, talking to yourself. That's going to be a huge, factor. Whatever, this workshop, does to help creatives or be creative. Eventually we want to be able to provide something, resources to help mental health as well. It's like, to be your own, like to have, how to find these resources to step out and ask for help or to help yourself, in these methods of martial arts, yoga, self-exploration shit, hiking for for that thing, just something as simple as hiking, getting out and like getting vitamin D and and feeling the warmth and changing the scenery, getting out and getting for a walk, change it up. Something small as that. We want to provide that, and that's with the whole native meetup, and the same thing with this one trip meetup. We want to turn around and provide these resources back.
Yeah.
So that's we got a lot.
Yeah. So if you're interested in buying a ticket, you can click the link on our Instagram bios. Registration is open. It's on March 27th to 28th. So we're super excited, and
we're super dope. It's gonna be super dope.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Wow.
And I definitely appreciate you for having us on. I love what you're doing here, and I love the fact that you're stepping out and you're making something happen. You enjoy this. It's great to have a great conversation with you as well, and it's been fun. I wish nothing but great things for you. We see great things happening, and from the small start of to wherever it grows to, man. It's gonna be dope.
Thank you, Wes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Brittany.
Cool.
Yeah, thank y'all for coming on, man. This was fucking fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It was really cool to get to know y'all, and you're welcome back anytime.
Oh yeah.
Anytime, hit me up, if you have more shit going on, or
For sure.
native meetup, get something going and get the word out there and everything.
We definitely we talk about it with George Alexander. But we was talking about we should definitely do one, all of us in there, because he is a character himself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
us three getting in there, making something happen, it's bound to be hilarious.
Yeah, and then it's cool, man, that you done MMA and all that. I was thinking about maybe like doing something with MMA, bring on some fucking people on here.
Yeah.
I'll just all talk about MMA and it'd be so serious or whatever, just chill.
That'd be awesome. That'd be fun as hell.
Yeah. And is there have you made a Facebook group page for the native meetup?
Not for native meetup. I've just been promoting it through my personal Instagram, but we'll start getting some things solidified and get it out there, some better promotions. So
yeah, she just started back to school, and so I mean her schedule is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I just started school today. I have 8 weeks and I'm done. So
yeah,
got a lot on my plate, but making moves.
You'll do it. Yeah. It's gonna be worth it.
Yeah.
Fuck. Hope nothing but great things. And
thank you. I appreciate that.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I know you're gonna finish out and fucking make everybody proud and making moves.
Yep.
For sure.
But yeah, I'd like to go to that native meetup.
Definitely.
I think it'd be fucking cool as hell.
So next time we'll have George out there too. It was hard to. It was just like kind of a spur moment when we all did it, and we was like, "Fuck it, let's go."
Yeah.
And I just showed up.
I think things are starting to open back up a little bit more, but going back to normal, and I'm thankful for that. So I think once everything seems a little bit back to normal, we'll get it rolling again, and some better promotion this time.
Yeah,
sweet.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, I can't wait to go.
Yeah.
Well, do you both want to shout out your social media, how to get in contact,
for sure.
follow you?
One Trip Media on just One Trip Media. You have it on Facebook or Instagram, or Shooting for Balance is my personal one, and then
mine is Brittany. It's BRITTI 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shooting for Balance is the number 4, like for life.
Ah,
so
for life.
For
And
life.
then Wes's OnlyFans account.
Coming soon. Stay tuned.
All right, well, thank y'all for coming on, and I hope we get to do this again and fucking just chill out, man.
Yeah.
Tell these stories.
For sure.
All right, well, I hope y'all enjoyed that episode. If you haven't yet, follow the Instagram page for Okie Podcast, the Facebook page. Please go listen, rate, subscribe, review Okie Podcast on all platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and I just found out that it's on Audible. So if you're into Audible, check it out. So I guess until next time, everybody. Peace.